Welcome to our roundtable for Genesee County. I'm excited. Look at our beautiful guests, our strong leaders, prolific leaders in our community. And to my right is Trishelle Young.
Well, hello, Jonelle, and thank you for having me.
Right.
Hello to everyone out there. My name is Attorney Trishelle C. Young. I am running for Genesee County Prosecutor.
Yeah.
I'm running because I am qualified, I am committed. I have 24 years of legal experience. I'm a U.S. Army Airborne veteran, and I am ready for change in this community. I think this community is ready for change. It's time to stop with the overcharging, the unfair plea bargaining, locking everybody up, and throwing our youth away. If you vote for me on August 4th, you will see change for the better in this community.
Wow, thank you. That's powerful.
That's real.
That's powerful. I like that. And to my left, Chief Timothy Johnson. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here, and I recognize all the other guests on the panel. My name is Tim Johnson. I am running for Genesee County Sheriff, former Chief of Police for the city of Flint. I'm also a United States Air Force veteran.
All right.
Thank you for your services, by the way. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Nope. Just want to say to Genesee County, it's time for a change. It's time. It's time.
Okay. And when is that election again?
August the 4th.
Okay, make sure we get that out there.
Absolutely.
August 4th, we must vote. And that's and so we got to our far left, Mr. Glenn M.D. Cotton. How you doing, Mr. Cotton?
I'm doing well, John. Everybody, my name is Glenn Cotton. I'm an attorney, been practicing over 25 years. I'm running for the 67th District Court Judge. I'm qualified, been practicing over 25 years. I'm dedicated to community, dedicated to ensuring public safety, ensuring that the laws are followed, the Constitution is obeyed. We'll treat people with dignity and respect. On August 4th, you earn the right to vote, and that vote is very important. All of us candidates are here seeking your vote, and we want all of you to get out on the polls on that day and vote, August 4th.
So August 4th is a big day. But I think what I want to really concentrate on is problems in our city and solutions that, as elected officials, that you have. You know, so often we have politicians who sound good, look good, but the issues, the key issues that's happening in our community, I don't think they really deal with them. I'm not going to say they don't care, but they just don't deal with them. I can't speak on that. But I know that Flint has suffered.
Tremendously.
We have suffered. We've been misled, bamboozled,
Lied
anything. We lied to,
Poison.
poisoned,
yeah.
and made to pay for the poison. So, I mean, there's just so much that's happened. And, you know, I'm a Flint native. I'm a third generation guy. And Flint means something to me. That's why I'm here. You know, a lot of people say, well, why did you come back? Look, I love Flint.
Right.
And I love everything about our city. And I think it needs to be represented in that light.
Right.
And so just talking about that light, Trishelle, a prosecutor?
A prosecutor.
I mean, because you seem like a judge.
Listen, a prosecutor is actually the most powerful position in the county of Genesee.
I understand
And right now, we need criminal justice reform,
Okay.
especially in this county. Why a prosecutor? Because a prosecutor is the one who decides who will get charged with a crime.
Okay.
He decides, or she decides,
Yeah.
what type of plea bargaining will happen, whether there will be an
Excuse me.
alternative disposition that will be sought as opposed to incarceration.
Okay.
That is the person who will look at a person and says, did this person commit a crime out of malice?
Right.
Or is there a mental health issue? Is there a
Definitely.
drug issue?
Yes.
Is there an alcohol issue?
Okay.
Right now, we're not taking the time to treat people with their issues.
Okay.
We are just hurting them, incarcerating them, running them through the system and spitting them back out.
Definitely. Yeah.
So our recidivism rate is extremely high, which means we have a high rate of repeat offenders.
Right.
It's time to change that system. Stop locking people up. Let's put the money towards treatment rather than punishment.
Wow. I
But
like
we
that.
know building more jails does not stop crime.
Absolutely.
Bottom
And the
line.
current prosecutor, when asked what was part of his solution, was we need to build more jails. No, we
Okay.
don't.
Definitely. And so you piggyback right into there. Running for Genesee County
Sheriff.
Sheriff's Department, that means you control the jail.
Actually, everything Shachelle just said was 100% absolutely true. And I must say that the sheriff is the only recognized law enforcement unit in the United States Constitution.
Okay.
And that's a voted position because he's voted in. Even over the U.S. Attorney General, he's appointed.
Right.
You know, the colonel for the state police, he's appointed.
Okay.
You know, but the sheriff is elected. You know,
Right.
and that's a powerful position. It
Mhm.
really is. And it's time for total jail reform. And,
Right.
and I actually, the ideas that I was thinking about was sick and tired of seeing that jail recidivism was a revolving door.
Absolutely.
People going in, no kind of education, not teaching them to do anything different when they come back out. Some of them probably should have never been in there in the first place,
Right.
you know. But it's another story. I believe that if we can do total jail reform to give these younger people a chance instead of sending them in jail in the first place, even for simple things as driver's license, not
Right.
having a license. We need to come up with some type of community, what's the word I'm looking for?
Alternative.
Or outreach.
With businesses,
community outreach.
partnerships.
Definitely,
Partnerships
yeah.
is what I was looking for. With certain schools and colleges
Right.
that actually can give these courses while in lieu of going to jail, or give the courses to the people while they're in jail. You know, for GED training or
Right.
driver's license, things
Definitely.
of that sort.
Well, one of the things that's often said about you, Tim Johnson, is that you are a hands-on dude. You're in the community. So how does that look for our sheriff to be out there? Is that the type of sheriff you will be in the
Well,
community?
no,
Because
no.
I've never
No,
seen the sheriff out there in the community.
No doubt. I'm a
So,
people person. I
okay.
really am. And I love my community. I'm not afraid to go anywhere in Flint. And I don't mean with a group of people behind me. I'll go there by myself.
Right.
It's my people. You know,
Okay.
we all have family members that don't wear that uniform.
Okay.
And for the ones that don't, we need to respect them just like, you know,
Right.
what they do. I don't want anybody disrespecting my mother, my father,
Definitely.
my sisters, my brothers. And we see a lot of that going on in this county right now.
Okay.
We see a lot of it going on across the whole world,
Right.
the whole world right now. You know, so God is good. I tell you, it's a position that I know I can handle.
Okay.
I worked for the Wayne County Sheriff Department for 2 years. I spent 2 years in the
Okay.
jail myself,
Wow.
working as a police officer 1. They had police officer 1 and police officer 2s.
Yes.
The 2s worked the streets, the 1s worked the jail. Did it for 2 years before I decided to move to Flint and you know, get on the Flint Police Department.
Okay. So before we move on, one of the things about Genesee County which is unique is that even though it's a big county, the majority of the inmates in that jail are from a concentrated area of Flint.
Imagine that.
And so we know that there's a lot of activity going on in our city.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very important for the residents of Flint to feel confident that the people who are controlling the most of our people in the jail system are some people who have an invested interest in a community.
Sure.
And can I just say,
Yes.
the current interim sheriff
Yeah.
had made a statement that he would not enforce the governor's executive stay-home order.
Oh, okay.
That's a problem when you have a top law
Major
enforcement
problem.
official that says he will not enforce a governor's executive order. A governor's executive order has the force and effect of a law.
Okay.
He should not be able to pick and choose which laws he's going to enforce. We can't pick and choose which laws we're going to follow.
Well, no, that's not.
Well, see, building off of what Tim has said about somebody who's being held up in the jail on a driving line suspended license, they haven't been able to pay their bond and get out. They're holding a spot in the jail. And really, is that jail space really being utilized best by somebody who's being held there on a suspended license?
Right.
On a misdemeanor?
course.
Well, you have people who are genuine threats to the community. They're
Okay.
violent. There are people who they need to be locked up. But that's not a lot of folks. That jail is way over capacity, and the dirty secret is for a number of years they used to house folks outside of the county, and that
Right.
person would be paying less than what the county was charging being housed in the county. So
Okay.
there are a number of problems with that jail, and I think Tim has a lot of wonderful ideas. I think the prosecutor has a lot of ideas, but the courts have to be utilized, and they have to be done in a fair and a manner that is respectful to people. You need to follow the law, but sometimes you have to have judgment. Sometimes you have to have temperament, and sometimes you need to do the right thing. And sometimes that person who doesn't have any money, who's not a threat to society, who doesn't do anything wrong but made a mistake, sometimes they just have to be told that they made a mistake, and that's it.
Okay. So that's a key issue right now across the country is bail reform.
Absolutely.
I mean, this has gotten out of hand. When we think about it, most people who are affected by bails are poor. And so if you're poor, and that's probably why you're doing a crime anyway, and then add a bond to you,
Right.
what is that doing? What does that deter?
So the third highest reason for incarceration in Genesee County is driving while license suspended.
Absolutely.
I was just
Yeah.
getting
So
ready to say,
how do people's license get suspended? Let's say they got a traffic ticket
Okay.
that was $30, and either they didn't bother showing up in court, or they just didn't pay the ticket.
Right.
So now their license is suspended because of a $30 ticket.
Wow.
Now that you get stopped driving, they're gonna take you to jail.
Yes.
They're gonna impound your vehicle. You're gonna have to wait to see a judge, which might not happen that same day. So you might have to spend the night.
Right.
And then they're gonna set a bond.
Okay.
There should not be any monetary bond on a driving while license suspended ticket.
Okay.
Why?
It
Why
should-
is that?
it
It's
shouldn't be.
insult to injury.
It shouldn't be no jail time either. Actually, seriously, it should be other things in lieu of going to jail over a traffic offense. I think Attorney Cotton said it the best. We got so many so much better use for those beds for people who's really out there committing serious crimes
Okay.
rather than somebody with a traffic offense.
Especially
You know.
when the jail is overcrowded 300
Anyway.
out of 365 days.
Exactly.
In 2019,
Yes.
it was overcrowded 300 out of 365 days.
Wow.
And see, that's why we're in the 21st century, so we want 21st century solutions to these 21st century problems.
Okay.
And they're not new problems.
Okay.
And the problems didn't get created yesterday, but they can get solved today.
It can't
Okay.
be business as
And this is
usual.
the problem, that
Right.
we have to put forth the solution so that people know there's a choice that's out there that can be made, and the candidates are presenting themselves so that on August 4th, that person can make that choice. I want to vote for Shachelle. I want to vote for Tim Johnson. I want to vote for Glenn Cotton. Those people share my values and share what I want to have happen in Flint.
Okay. So I want to ask, because one thing about this round table is that we wanted to tackle problems with a solution. And so I would like to ask you, what is the number one problem that you see as in the prosecutor eyes? What do you see there?
So my biggest issue with what's going on in the prosecutor's office is the abuse of prosecutorial discretion.
Okay.
So, and I've seen cases that should not have been charged.
Okay.
And I've seen cases that were overcharged. And I've seen cases that should have been charged but weren't.
Okay.
So that whole gamut, and then there's a lack of diversity in the prosecutor's office right now.
Okay.
Genesee County is a diverse community.
Definitely.
There's no diversity in the prosecutor's office in the management positions. In the top level executive positions,
Okay.
there's no diversity. In the department head positions, there's no diversity. When we don't have a voice at the table,
Right.
I'm not surprised that there's a disparate impact on the minorities and the poor people in the community.
Wow.
Earlier, you talked about there being a concentration, in
In
a
the city
certain
front.
area.
Absolutely.
So is that demographic more prone to breaking the laws, or are they concentrating their resources heavier in that area so that they can pick up more people out of that area?
Right.
We have to start making the policies that actually meet the people.
Okay.
Because right now it's just sucking them up.
Okay. And what about you, Mr. Johnson? What's the problem that you see in our jail system in this
Yeah,
county?
recidivism.
Okay.
It's a revolving door.
Well, I
Revolving door.
want to comment on that. I went into the jail to register inmates in there to vote.
Absolutely.
And to be honest with you, there were some faces that I saw 30 years ago when I came through there. And so I'm like, wow, here go the same people. And I remember a story of a young man named Andrew Meadows. He suffered from mental illness. And every fall, he would commit a crime. And one time he went down to the little gas station, picked up a rock and threw it in the window and broke the window and went in there and sat down for the police. Well, they didn't get there in time, so he walked down to the county and went in the door and said, you know,
The
I
county
just did
jail?
that in the county jail.
He needed
That's a true
place
story.
to stay.
But see,
he
that
needed a place.
segues.
That was a cry for help.
Not only is it a cry for help, but our system now, one of the problems with our judicial system is that that person gets arrested. That person doesn't need to be arrested. That
Right.
person needs to be getting treatment, be getting help. That person needs to be taking some medication. There's not, that person needs to be locked up.
Absolutely.
And see, that's where the system right now errs on the side of locking everybody up.
Absolutely.
And I think that has to stop. That investigation at the district court, that inquiry needs to be made right then and there as to whether or not somebody needs to be detained. And if somebody doesn't need to be detained, then they need to be released.
Okay.
I
What
think
do you
what
say?
you were speaking on was we've had individuals that used to come into the Wayne County jail
Yes.
because they would go out there and commit a crime during the wintertime because
Absolutely.
they need a place to stay.
That's right.
And they got 3 meals a day, so they will actually go out there and commit a crime so they can be locked up. And that's another whole.
It happens. Unfortunately, but fortunately, I've been to 32 different prisons in this state. And one of the things that they have, what people call is appeal line. And this is for those who suffer from mental illness. And the appeal line usually contains about 300 to 700 different inmates 3 times a day going to get that pill. And it's not just in one prison, it's throughout the entire state. So it lets you know that there's a serious issue that we're really not dealing with. And I think sometimes a person who commits a crime, we look at the crime more than the underlying to see exactly, man, what's the story here?
Right.
I think it was the Engler administration that had wiped out the state hospitals, all of the mental hospitals and things of that nature. And ever since then, the jails and the prison systems have been overpopulated with people that have mental issues,
Absolutely.
not necessarily criminal issues.
Right.
Right.
And-
The jails
like
and the
you alluded
prisons
to.
need to lock up criminals,
Yeah.
not mentally ill people.
And you alluded to that earlier when you talked about substance abuse.
Absolutely.
Okay, we know that heroin is a big problem in our country right now, and but the crack epidemic didn't receive the same notice, right?
Right,
So
right.
we have to put things in perspective.
You said the same what? Notice.
Right, it didn't get was because
It wasn't identified the same, nor was
Absolutely.
it treated the same.
Absolutely, and we locked up many people in our communities for crack cocaine addictions and the crimes they were doing, stealing from
But
people.
it would appear that doesn't hold true for some of these folks that are heroin addict or possessing
Absolutely.
heroin that
It's-
are coming
it's
out
a
of the
change.
Caucasian community because
Absolutely.
they don't seem to be ending up in prison. They don't seem to be ending up doing anything other than getting a slap on the wrist.
And so we got drug
and-
court, right? So, and different things like that. So as a prosecutor, what solution would you put on, here's a person that did a crime, what's the first thing we do? What do we instruct our people to do as a prosecutor?
Well, I think it very first it starts with law enforcement. When they're the ones, because they're the ones who have the first interaction
Okay.
with the individual, they need to be taught to write very detailed reports on observations of that individual's behavior.
Okay.
They can make a layperson's assessment. Does this person appear to have all of their faculties there?
Wow.
Is this person acting, are they just acting in malice, mean? Are they angry? Do they have anger issues?
Right.
They really need to attempt to articulate what they see,
Okay.
because then when it gets to the prosecutor's office, they can look at that. And even if they have to charge, because sometimes you have to charge somebody
Absolutely.
when a crime is committed.
We
But
agree.
knowing going in that this person might have a mental health issue, that file can be flagged to be evaluated by the mental health crew. See, there's no mental health crew right now
No.
in the prosecutor's office. It waits, it's almost up to the attorney that's representing the defendant to
Right.
say, hey, my client, I don't think my client, because the system doesn't care.
Okay.
They don't pick and choose. So I have to advocate for my client. Now, you may get an attorney who's not going to advocate for you.
Wow.
And a lot of people have issues with certain court-appointed attorneys. Nobody
Definitely.
wants a
Oh, no.
court-appointed attorney
That's the
until you
worst
need
thing.
one.
Right.
You have to have an attorney when you
Right.
get in the system. But we have to identify what the underlying issue is. We only deal with the superficial behavior, and we
Okay.
never go beneath the surface.
So when you see that, Mr. Cotton, as a district judge, 67, when you see that report and you see a hint of mental illness, what's your stance? What do you do?
Well, see, there's a lot of things. When you have somebody who's accused of a crime and you believe they don't necessarily have their complete mental facilities, then you want to make sure that that person is has an evaluation or determination made whether or not they have their mental facilities. Is this person supposed to be taking some sort of medication?
Okay.
There's a timeout that can be taken in the system when there's some mental issues that need to be addressed, either by the accused or somebody who's a potential victim of a crime. Mental health has to be addressed by the system. It just needs to be fair when it's on the side of the accused. Sometimes the system, when somebody is not there mentally, wants to still churn away and try to grind that person out, notwithstanding the fact that they're not all there.
Well, I think race plays a major factor in mental illness.
Oh,
So
I'm
we
not-
have to deal with that
we're
situation
not gonna
there.
disagree with that
Okay,
at all.
because that's what happened. When we look at it across the board, a person is race-based is what's going to say, okay, he's mentally disturbed. We're going to give him a turn. We're going to send him to the forensic center. We're going to give him opportunity, 6 months, 7 months in there, then he's released. Whereas now, if you are
See, Mr.
brown
Allen,
and
one of
black
the-
community, you
one
don't
of
have
the-
the same thing.
My background, my undergraduate degree was in psychology.
Yeah.
So the psychological determination, I have an interaction with somebody, I know for the most part, are they street? Are they, what their intellectual level is? I can
Okay.
assess that very quickly in a very non-professional matter, notwithstanding you're in a professional context.
Definitely. Okay.
But the whole thing is that there are some people who try to game the system.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
There are people who, I want that mental evaluation because I know it's going to put brakes on some things. Because you know what, I took some medication when I was in middle school. I was taking some Ritalin and some other things, so my mental thing's not all there right now. So I need to take a time out. There are people who specifically try to game the system, and see, I'm saying that the system needs to be fair.
Okay.
So if you see somebody who's trying to game the system, then you got to stop that. That's nonsense.
Okay.
But by the other token, if there's
Okay.
somebody who needs to be addressed, it
Right.
needs to go get referred, it needs to be evaluated, then you want to make sure that that happens, because justice, Lady Liberty, is supposed to be blind. All right? So we want to use your determination, you want to use your judgment, you want to use your experience to be able to make that
Well,
determination.
our community definitely thinks she's blind when it comes to us, so
Yeah.
we know she turns blind. But as thinking about being in that position of the doorkeeper in our county jail, how do we handle that situation?
Well, actually, Trishelle nailed it when you said the point where, let me put it like this.
Okay.
A police officer, when they first come in contact with somebody, they should have some type of training, and a lot of them don't, but they should have some type of training that can actually be, even give them the idea that this person got a problem. And I'm not talking about the slinging of the hand. I'm talking about just looking in this person's face. I could tell,
Okay.
because I worked in the county jail, and actually I worked on the mental floor. And I tell you, I can come up to a person on the street and while we're talking, I can say, that guy got a problem. And 9 times out of 10, if I asked him, had he ever been down to Ypsilanti, and he would say, yep, I've ever been,
Okay.
yep. And so you got to have that kind of training to be able to pick that out.
Okay.
Coming into the sheriff department, that's a different whole story, because once they come over there, they don't already been in the system.
Yes.
Most of the time,
Okay.
and they're already been arrested, and they're coming in, and now the sheriff department would have to have trained people to be able to say, and I believe they got nurses there that
Yeah.
can do, interview somebody and make that type of assessment.
Okay.
Whether that person has got a mental problem or received mental help before, or should be on medication and they just wasn't taking the medication. Putting a person in jail ain't always alternative. It's not. It's other ways you can
Right.
deal with people like that,
Okay.
depending on the crime they committed. Like you said,
Right.
if it's not a serious crime, then you can pretty much, but if it's a serious enough crime, then you don't have a choice. They're going to have to go through the system, and you're going to have to pay to treat that person with them for their mental illness while they're going through the system.
Okay.
And he just hit the nail on the head right there. Because at the end of the day, if you really want to know why people don't want to do something,
Right.
follow the dollar.
There you go.
It costs money to treat people.
Absolutely.
You know, now it costs money to incarcerate people. Don't get me
Definitely.
wrong, but it costs more money to treat them.
Exactly.
And that's a less desirable push when you already stretching a certain budget,
Yep.
you know, and you already looking in a certain direction. You're not going to be pushing to have all of these people who really should get evaluated and treated. But that's why when I come in, I'm utilizing a community prosecution approach. We
Okay.
have to partner with law enforcement.
There you go.
We have to partner with psychologists. We have to partner with community mental health.
Right.
We don't have to put the burden just on the sheriffs, just
Right.
on the police, just on the prosecutors. We need to make it's a community issue. Crime affects everybody, whether it's
Everybody.
directly or
Definitely.
indirectly.
Yep. We agree.
Whether it's physically, monetarily,
Yep.
mentally,
That's true.
emotionally, socially. You know, when you look at Flint on the map, you know, when people think of Flint, they don't think that it's a rosy, great place to go visit.
No, they
you know,
don't.
They
No.
see us as one of the crime
Tough.
capitals.
It's a tough town.
It's very tough.
It's a tough town.
You know,
Yeah.
and we just recently made the news, you know, over the shooting at Family Dollar
Yeah,
with the
definitely.
mask.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
and people here have serious issues, serious concerns. Unemployment is serious. It contributes to crime. Not everybody is committing a crime just because they out for fun and games. Some of it is out of necessity.
Right.
And that has to be looked at as well.
Okay.
But I work from a restorative justice standpoint.
I love
We
restorative
have
justice.
to restore
Definitely.
the victims as well as the community because it, like I said, it's a much greater impact than people realize
Okay.
when a crime is committed.
Right. And so, law enforcement, you know, there's a stigma. There's a stigma in the city of Flint that, you know, that you could be beat up. And even when you get to the point of a county jail, there's what they call a goon squad.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so with all this abuse, you know, with all the things that are happening, how do we tell our citizens that we're in control? How do we do that?
Well, actually, it's called training the police.
Okay.
They need to be trained. No one has the cap on everything, if I
Okay.
can put it like that. Training goes a long way, especially when it deals with race and religion and things of that sort.
Okay.
Because of the average person that come into this city that did not live here and of another color, it has no concept on how to treat somebody that look like us. And
Okay.
and for the they just don't. I don't care how you want to slice it and being honest about it. To bring a person in a city that does not know Flint or know the Flint culture and how we react as an inner city people is not doing the city of Flint no good at all. Matter
Okay.
of fact, you're gonna have problems out of that officer.
Yeah.
I don't care how you slice it.
Right.
And that's this. I'll call that real talk. You
Yes.
know, now you can put him in a blue uniform and you can train him on how to treat people, but in the back of his head, he was not brought up like that.
Right. Okay.
I mean, now it's getting a little deep.
Yeah, well, we are, but I thank you for tackling the tough issues because the fact that the city of Flint needs solutions. They need people who are tough enough to make the right decision based on their lives and their experiences. If you don't have the experience of understanding what Flint's about, you know, I talk to a lot of the old heads and they always reminisce about a time when there weren't crime. And I always tell them that that's because there was a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
It was the middle class started in the city of Flint.
Yeah.
So when you have that, then you have a platform where people are at ease and with peace. I'd like to thank you for participating in this round table. I would like to, Trishelle, I would like to thank you, Timothy Johnson, Glenn Cotton, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
I wish you the best. And I just feel that, you know, as long as you have solutions, we're going to be okay. So I believe that our city will be productive because of the fact of your leadership skills.